Right, in this tutorial I'll show you how to set up a turntable camera so we can show off our animation nicely. What I've done is my cycle was 32 frames long, so I've now extended my range slider to 160 frames. So it's cycling, I think that is cycling it 5 times. The other thing is if I go beyond frame 32, you can see some of the things have not got infinity curves on them. There might be some of the things on layers and stuff like that. So you can see suddenly the hip roll is not there, the chest roll and the head. So I just need to sort those out. So I'm going to go into the graph editor, pick those objects. We can see that some of this is cycled. I haven't done the end cycles to those. So let's go into post-infinity cycle. That's good. Let's pick the chest joint. You can see they've not been cycled. So curves, pre-infinity cycle and post-infinity cycle. And finally, it should just be the head now. Yeah, you can see that's not cycled outside that loop. So pre-infinity cycle, and once again, post-infinity cycle. So I'm hopeful now that beyond those 32 frames, everything should be moving as it should. You sometimes have to have a good old look to make sure every little bit of animation is being looped. So that's good. The other thing to check is the total range here. Make sure it doesn't click at the end. So check that the first and the last frame are the same. So if I play this, you can see it loops around to the beginning again without it being an obvious click in the animation. You sometimes need to take off the last frame, because if you imagine the last frame is always going to be identical to the first frame. So sometimes you get a little bit of a pause in the playback. So sometimes you do delete that last frame, well, most times you do. But I'm not too fussed about it with this. Now what we want to do is add a turntable camera. Now the turntable camera will fix to a selected point on the screen. So I'm going to pick his waist bone. I'm going to get him so he's nice and large on the screen, like so, to get the composition kind of how you want it to be. And then I'm going to go make sure I'm in the animation menu, go visualize, create turntable. Number of frames, yep, I've got mine set to 160. I'm going to make it counterclockwise. I think that's how I want it. You can try it out. If it doesn't work, you can undo it, and then I just go apply. If I have a look, I've got Turntable Camera 1 appears now. I've got in here, I've got display, head-up display, and I've got camera names turned on, so I can see obviously which camera this is, and it's locked to camera Turntable Camera 1. If I try and dolly this camera around or move it, no, it doesn't do anything. It's locked. This camera is constrained to a little node. It's created a hidden node here. So if I press play now, the camera starts to revolve around my character, like so. And that's not too bad. You might argue it's a little bit on the quick side, but you could always render this out and do several of these videos together in Premiere, so you could have it cycle a bit longer. Now one thing you'll notice is that it's accelerating slowly, like so, and then decelerating. So if you did want to sort of put these together in Premiere, it would keep slowing down and speeding up. So you want this camera revolve to be a constant motion. So we need to find where the camera animation is. If we have a look in the hypergraph or the outliner, whichever is your preference. Where has it gone? It's over there. Let me just resize this so we can see this a little bit better. If I just press A in this screen here, if we look here, look, there's a group node that's appeared, and you can see it's this sort of shape, which means it's got animation on it. Whenever it goes into a kind of a rhomboid shape, it means it's got animation. And once it's selected, look, you can see it's got animation on the rotate Y. And the camera, there's a hidden camera in here, this turntable camera, that is constrained to this. This node is here and the camera's constrained to this. So once this is selected, look, we can see the keys here and here. So I'll close this down whilst I've still got that selected. I'll bring up the graph editor, press F, and look, there's the animation curve, that rotation. And you can see, look, here's the gentle movement, the slow out and the slow in. So we want to change this to a linear. So look, if we highlight the motion curve, just select it, and this little icon here is linear curve. So that means it'll be a constant motion. Go back to this view, you can see we're not now in the turntable camera. Look, this is perspective, so we need to go panels, perspective, there's our turntable camera. It doesn't look like anything's changed, but if we press play now, you can see it's just a nice constant motion now. Okay, so we could do a render of that and it would just keep looping. So what we want to do now is set this up ready for a play blast. I can see actually something it's done slightly wrong. Look, it's got the key. I've got my range slider set to 0 to 160. This one is doing it slightly at 1. So I'm just going to move that frame there. Let me just check. Yeah, the start and end frame are virtually identical, so that's fine. And let's just check that that revolves nicely. There's no obvious click. There's probably a slight delay, so I might take that last frame off. Let's try that. Let's go 159 like so, and let's just play it from here. Yeah, that's cool. Take that last frame off, and you shouldn't see any kind of delay. It's so marginal that you hardly notice it. Next thing we want to do is set this up ready for Play Blast. So what I do is I go show, none, and then just show polygons. So we're only viewing the polygons. I'll then probably turn off the wireframe if I don't want the wireframe showing this icon here. And you might want to put a floor plane in, so that in the polygon shelf. I'll just scale up this floor plane like so. And turn off the grid, that icon there. And I'll turn on some nice things in the renderer. So viewport 2.0, go into here, scroll down a little bit. I'll turn on screen space ambient occlusion. That causes a little bit of shadowing. And I think, have I got anti-aliasing on? Anti-aliasing is already on. That just gets rid of any jagged lines where pixels are going sort of at 45 angles and stuff like that. So that looks kind of nice. I'll then check what it's going to render. So if I click on this thing, this is the viewing area. This is what it's going to render, okay? Or Play Blast, depending on what we select. Next thing I want to do is go to the Play Blast options, or if I don't like this view, I can change this in the render option. So I can go here and I can say, right, I don't like that. Let's resize this window again. All my windows are weird sizes. If we go down here, look, we can change this. So say you wanted to render out at 720p, so 1280 pixels by 720 high, we can change that in that render settings, and that you can see that little number there has changed. Then we can just right click down here, go Play Blast options, and these are the options that I set, but I'm going to change display size to from render settings, okay? And the last thing I need to do, I almost forgot, I don't want it rendering this thing, so let's turn that resolution gate off. So turn that off, otherwise that will appear in our render, which is no good. So I turn views off. I'm doing format QuickTime, encoding H.264. This is very much dependent on what video encoders you've got installed on your PC. If you're using a university one, it should have these options available. I have the quality at 100 and the scale. This doesn't really matter because it's doing it from render settings, but set the scale to 1 so it doesn't try to reduce it. I want to save to file, browse, make sure you know where it's going to save this out, and then once you're happy with that, you just click on Play Blast and it will do a video file of this. So if we watch this, it's running through this like so, and then it will save out a QuickTime movie file of this in the relevant folder.